Hey everyone, it's Riley, and today I'm going to be reviewing some of my go-to markers for you guys. So the markers that I want to talk about today are the ShuttleArt dual tip brush pens, and I've been using these for a few months now. I actually did sort of like a mini review combined with a pen pal video a couple months ago, so I'll link that video above in case you want to check it out. So like I said, I've been using these markers for a while ago. I got them a couple of months ago, and I've posted a bunch of pictures and reels and stuff on Instagram using these markers, and even though I tagged them, every single time I get questions from people asking what markers are those, and the follow-up question is always, would you recommend them? So the really short answer is yes, I would absolutely recommend them, but in this video I'm gonna kind of break down why, what I like about them, what I don't like about them, and also compare them to some other brush pens, namely the Tombow dual tip brush pens that so many people are familiar with. So the number one reason why I do recommend the ShuttleArt dual tip brush pens is because they are so budget friendly and just great value for the price that you're paying. So like I said, they come in a pack of 120, and I will have the link for that pack in the description below. And this 120 pack is about $30 US on Amazon. So even if you factor in taxes, you're paying like 25 to 30 cents per marker. And the reason I break it down per marker is because when you go to like Michael's or other craft stores and stuff and go look at their markers, especially the Tombow dual tip brush pens, for me, I can never find them at my local craft store for less than $4 or $5. Online, sometimes I can find them for like $3.50, but that's pretty rare even. So these ShuttleArt markers are about like 10 times less expensive per marker than the Tombow dual tip brush pens. So that said, the quality of ShuttleArt versus Tombow, it's not equal. Okay, so if you're buying the 30-cent ShuttleArt marker and expecting a $5 marker, you might be disappointed. But if you're buying the 30-cent marker and expecting a 30-cent marker, you will be blown away by how well they perform. Because yes, they may not quite measure up to the Tombow in certain ways, but for the price, I think the value is absolutely incredible. So before we talk any more about this, let's just put the marker to the paper and see how they perform. So this right here is the case that the ShuttleArt markers come in. It's actually pretty cool. They come in like trays like this. So all of the markers were lined up in these trays, and you can kind of pull them out like drawers. So I actually kind of liked the packaging. I just took them out because I wanted to organize them by color, and I wanted to organize them vertically because I don't have tons of space on my desk and I wanted them to sit on my desk. So here's the packaging, and like I said, there are 120 different colors, and they are dual tip brush pens. So they have an extra fine tip and a jumbo tip. So I'm not going to swatch every color in this video, but I did want to show you all of the colors that there are, and I'll just leave this sitting around as we go through the video. So you can see there is quite a wide variety of colors. However, there's also some like repetition. Some of these pinks look pretty much exactly the same. So yeah, there is a bit of repetition in it, but I do think there's still a wide variety of colors. So I wanted to start off by showing you guys some of my favorite colors. I have a lot more than this, but I'm gonna do some writing with these and show you how they perform. So first off, let's test out the brush tip, because for me personally, that's the most important part of this marker. So the brush tip looks pretty much like a Tombow dual tip brush pen, and it writes fairly similar as well. So I'm just gonna write hello. So you can see, you can definitely get nice thick downstrokes as well as nice thin upstrokes when you're using the thick brush tip. Here's another one of my favorite colors. I think this one is really pretty. It's kind of a dusty pink that I haven't really seen in other sets of markers. And one thing that I want to point out is I'm actually pressing equally hard with this pink as I did with this blue, but there is a bit of, I don't know, some of the markers are a bit like inconsistent in what the tip is like. So some of them are more firm, like the blue one, and some of them feel a little bit more worn in, like this pink one. So it's tougher to get as fine of a tip with this, or as fine of a line, sorry, with this pink one, because the tip is almost a little bit frayed, but honestly, it's never really been a problem for me. It's just some markers act a little bit differently. But this is pretty much the full range. Some of them will be a bit harder like this one, and some of them are a bit softer like the pink one. So another favorite color of mine is this orange that I used for my April plan with me. And this one is also a little bit firmer than the pink one. But again, it doesn't really bother me that there's that little variable between the different marker tips. So as you can see on the little color swatch here, the colors that I'm drawn to tend to be some of these more muted colors like number 87 over here and number 37, as well as number 101. Those are the three that I showed you over here. And I should say, the markers do not come with numbers on them. So just like when I got my Crayola Super Tips, they all come blank. So that's one thing that I don't like as much. I don't mind putting the numbers on for myself, but then I can't refer to them in my videos for you guys and for your reference. So it's easy enough to number them on your own, and I would recommend doing that if you're gonna buy them. One thing that I will point out too is that my favorite colors, like I said, are more of these like muted colors, but there aren't as many muted colors. As you can see, most of the colors, like pretty much this whole row, is not muted. Most of this row is very bright as well. So there is a bit of an imbalance, but to be fair, on the box they do advertise vibrant colors, and I think they definitely follow through on that. So I wanted to show you guys a little comparison between my ShuttleArt dual tip brush pens and my Tombow dual tip brush pens. So basically, I used to only use Crayola and only ShuttleArt brush pens, and then I slowly acquired a few more Tombows to kind of fill in the gaps. So one of the gaps that I felt I had was some of the really, really light colors. So this right here is what I numbered number 119. So it's the lightest blue in this set. However, it wasn't like super light. It's actually pretty pigmented when you draw on it, especially if you're like coloring and going over the same spot over and over again. It gets pretty dark when you're coloring like this. And I knew that I wanted a pretty light blue. So one of the things that I bought from Tombow was this really light blue, and I just want to show you in comparison. So the look that you can get with your writing is nearly identical. The Tombow does give a bit of a thicker downstroke if you want it to, but you can definitely thin it out to make it look more like that. But you'll see this one is quite a bit lighter. It's also a different tone, but it's quite a bit lighter than the blue that was in here. So that's one of the gaps that I felt that I had, that there wasn't tons of really, really light, soft colors in the ShuttleArt dual tip brush pens. But again, they do advertise vibrant colors, and there are tons of those. So when comparing how the tips work with each of these markers, there is a slight difference in the way that they feel as you're writing, but overall, I don't find that it affects my work in the slightest. I think my work is just as good when I use the ShuttleArts as when I do the Tombows, so I have no complaints about the quality. So now that we've talked quite a bit about the jumbo tip or the brush tip, let's talk about this fine tip over here. And this is where they do vary from the Tombow dual tip brush pens quite a bit. So the Tombow brush pens have what I call a bullet tip, whereas these actually have a fine tip, like you're writing with a fine liner. So the tip on here I think is about a 0.04 millimeter. If you're comparing it to the Pigma Microns or the Mr. Pen multi-liners or something similar. So it is very fine, and I'll show you how it writes. I have not had problems with any of these. Not a single one has been frayed. They've all been very consistent. I don't use them a whole lot just because I don't do a lot of small detail work or writing in color. But if you're the kind of person who really likes colored fine liners, I think buying this pack is seriously a no-brainer for you, because I don't think you could ever find this many fine liners alone for such a great price. Plus they've got that brush tip. It's just a steal. So if you're the kind of person who does like colored fine liners, this is a no-brainer. This is the set for you. So for me personally, I prefer the sort of bullet tip. So you can see it's quite a bit bigger than the ShuttleArt one. And that's just a matter of preference. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a fine tip like this. But for me, I don't find it quite as useful as a broader tip. Thank you all so much for joining me to test out and review these ShuttleArt markers. I hope that you found this helpful. If you still have questions about them, definitely leave those in the comments below. And if you are interested in purchasing some of these for yourself, you can feel free to check out the description for the link. And I will see you guys in the next video.